My name is Shinobu Kato, and I'm a founder and a brewer of a small sake brewery called Kato Sake Works in Bushwick, Brooklyn. Sake is made in a very similar way that beer is made. Although sake is called rice wine, it's more like rice beer. So process-wise, it's very similar to beer. Instead of barley for beer, we use rice. So rice is the main grain that we use. And instead of malt for beer, you use a fungus called koji. What koji, the fungus, does is it's like a fluffy, cute creature that grows outside the rice grain or any grain. And it's fluffy, white, like a bleaches type of fungus. But it produces enzymes to break down starch into sugar. And yeast can only convert sugar into alcohol, right? So the fungus koji does the first process to break down the starch into sugar, and then yeast does the second process to convert the sugar into alcohol. That process is very similar to beer making. We have rice and koji fungus and water and yeast. So it's super simple. And it takes like 2 months, start from the rice to the bottle. So it's a little bit longer than beer, but some people think that sake is distilled alcohol. Maybe because some of the sake that you had, like hot sake, has a very strong alcohol smell. So you tend to think that it's more similar to like a vodka or tequila, but actually it's more like a beer. First thing, I think all my American friends started to brew beer, right? Beer brewing is a big deal. Making anything more than 1% alcohol, and you becomes criminal in Japan. So it never occurred to me to connect those two dots. But one time while I was talking with my beer brewing friend, I was thinking, well, you are making beer, and I've been complaining about the lack of access to the good sake. Why don't I try? And then that's when I started Googling and then, research everything. And then that was the beginning of the slippery slope. The big surprise to me was the first batch. I made a 5-gallon small batch at home, and then I invited all my friends for the release party. Yeah, so we pressed the sake, so come over and then drink my sake. I had no idea how that sake turned out, but actually it was not that bad. And then I think that applies to anything handmade. So compared to the like a commercially made, factory-made mass products, whatever you make by your hand has a certain good quality, right? I've seen that for like miso making or bread. During the COVID, everybody makes their own sour bread. So those things taste good because that's handmade. And my sake had that kind of property. And from there, I created the second batch, third batch, something like that, up to the point that my friend started asking me like, hey Shinobu, I'm enjoying your sake. And then I never liked sake before. All the sake that I had in my life in the US was like hangover sake, hot happy hour sake or sake bomb. And then that's something that you just get drunk, right? You don't enjoy the taste. But this is the first time that I'm enjoying the sake as a drink. Can I buy your sake? I want to bring your sake to my parents' dinner party, like Thanksgiving dinner. That happened a couple of times, and then that kind of triggered me that, hey, I've been complaining about the lack of access to the good sake in the US. Well, now I'm making something. Is this a solution for the problem that I've been complaining about? So Kato Sake Works opened in April 2020, And that was like a week after New York City locked down. So we had the original plan to have a tasting room open and did a soft opening with a friend and families. And then, COVID happened. So we have not used this tasting space since then. And we pivoted to more on the bottle sales. During that initial phase of the COVID, everybody stayed at home. But at the same time, people are so supportive. Whoever working around the neighborhood, they found us and they are like, oh, I didn't know you were open. Congratulations, let me get you a bottle. Even without tasting our sake. So I was so lucky that we started a business in this supportive neighborhood, I think. That's like 6 months ago. And since then, we are selling most of our sake just by the bottle to the people on the street. And we started selling to the restaurants these days now, but they are not fully open yet, right? So I think this comes a little bit slowly. Initially, we were not sure if bottle sales versus tap room pour, which one draws more customers. But if you go to like a local breweries, always it's packed with a client drinking beer, right? So that was a role model that we originally had, and then that's why we have the tap systems, and then initially we had a flight of the sake so that you can taste. It's completely different from the experience that you buy a 6-packs at the grocery store and you have no idea who's making this, versus you go to the corner brewery in your neighborhood and you know who's making those beer. It's Pete, it's Bobby, right? This is his latest beer. So I wanted to give that kind of experience to the people, or because sake in the US has been a kind of, too exotic or too foreign, right? And always people ask me like, hey, I don't know much about sake. How can I drink? And my first answer is just drink it. And if you like, that's great. If you don't like, then you don't like that. But don't think too much about it, because they never see somebody making sake or somebody, who makes sake. It's hard to connect those things. But if you come over, it's nothing intimidating. It's just another, casual drink place. It's just another drink to have fun socially with your friend. That's a reason that I wanted to open a brewery space. Well, that never happened, so it's kind of sad. But nowadays, I'm talking with the customers, so I think that. And then eventually, I'm hoping that we can have people coming over. I think everybody in the sake industry tried to make sake more casual, more accessible. So I think that's like a big goal that entire industry has been working hard. From the manufacturer's side, there's only like 20-some sake makers in the United States. So it's still like compared to beer or wine, it's like 0.some%, right? I'm not a salesperson, but I'm more like, I like to make things. So that's how I signed up to help that movement. But there's a lot of great people who are educating the consumers or introducing new sake from Japan or something like that. So it's kind of, group effort to make that work. Our goal is to bridge the two cultures, Japan and US, or more specifically Tokyo and Brooklyn, because that's where I'm familiar with, and then reshape the sake experience so that you can truly enjoy genuinely how we drink sake. And then that's how I enjoyed drinking sake back in Tokyo. And that's something that I try to provide to the people in Bushwick first. And then hopefully in Brooklyn and in New York if we can grow, but that's my goal.